I'm here with Stan Coates of All Steel Roofing. Welcome, Stan. Metal roofs. Metal roof has been around for a long time, but most people, when they think of roofing, they typically think of asphalt or something like that. Maybe you can tell me a bit of the history of metal roofing.
Well, metal roofing has been around for a long time, but typically all of us, we draw from our own experiences, our different exposures. The majority of us live in homes that were built post-war, things that were built after World War II, and of course we had the baby boom, and on the heels of that we had the building boom. The price became the big focus point. And coming out of the war, we had oil being a big issue, and they were looking for ways to use oil. Asphalt shingles became a big part of that. Longevity is definitely one of the big factors when we're talking about steel roofing or any of the metal roofings. Outside of that residential market, we think of commercial buildings, whether it be barns or sheds or buildings that industry would use. Rarely do we see shingles on those buildings. So metal roofing has been typically the default for that. It's, we think back to our own Canadian Parliament buildings, metal roofs. Some of the big name hotels, the Royal York in Toronto, metal roof. There's things like that. We don't think anything about that. That's a given. But because of some of the history in the residence market, we tend to default to shingles.
Interesting. So what are some of the other attributes of metal roofing that make it a superior product?
Well, we can discuss some of the green things that go with that too. Metal roofing will use a certain percentage of recycled material. We're already reclaiming some of what has been used already, and we're reusing that. Metal is reflective. As sun hits it, it doesn't absorb it as our asphalt shingles do. Asphalt shingles, they're an oil-based product. They take the sun and they draw that right in. And because they're right on the surface, that ends up being transferred into our attics. It's one of the reasons why our air conditioning costs are as high as they are through the summer months. With metal, we get a reflective quality. There has been different studies that have been done that would suggest that it's somewhere between 40 and 70% of the sun's energy is actually reflected. If that roof is installed with an air pocket, then that slows that transfer down to our attic. And hopefully that is designed in such a way as the airflow underneath the metal, but on top of the roof surface, will actually slow down and perhaps even eliminate that heat transfer into the attics.
So what I hear you saying is that the metal roofing is made typically with a percentage of recycled material. There's the longevity issue involved here, so that metal roof that gets put on, it's not being replaced every 10 years or so, like an asphalt roof might be. But if it does need to be redone, it could be recycled itself, I guess.
It could be, yeah. And in fact, we have experienced some situations where we have been able to, because of modifications to homes or whatever, where we have taken off some product that has already been on there. It's been able to have been taken off and reused. In fact, even as we would complete a job, any of our clippings and that sort of thing, any of the waste that comes out of a job, we recycle it.
So then there's this reflective quality of the metal that disperses some of the heat off the roof.
Right.
And then you talk about an air pocket between the metal and the roof itself. Earlier on, we were talking about the longevity of the product, and you mentioned how post-war they were looking for products that were cheaper and so forth. So by implication, I assume that metal roofing tends to be more expensive.
Yes, it is. Steel is more expensive than many other things. When we're talking about asphalt shingles, we're talking about a disposable product. Our recent history shows us that shingles are being replaced every 8 to 12 years. That wasn't the case initially. When we were first introduced to shingles, it was not uncommon, our parents would expect to get at least 20 years out of an asphalt roof. We're seeing shingles deteriorating and failing in a period 8 to 12 years. And that doesn't even matter what age the shingle is supposed to be or what the quality is. We are talking about a premium product, a more expensive product. this product is going to last indefinitely.
Well, and so from that point of view, then it would seem that typically if you amortize the cost, the more expensive cost of the metal roof in the structure, chances are it's going to be more cost effective on a per year basis to go with a product that is going to give that longevity.
That's right. Not only do you have that cost per year advantage, but it wouldn't matter which quality of asphalt shingle that you were to use on your house, it wouldn't increase the value of your house at all. By putting a metal roof on, typically you're going to see and be able to realize somewhere between 60 and 80% of the value of that roof. The visual impact is huge. Go through a subdivision where there's varied homes. A house that typically would have an engineered steel roof on is just going to jump out at you. The real estate agent said, hands down, that house went up somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 in value.
So what are some unique features then that all steel roofing? You've talked about the profile, you've talked about the air gap, but there's some other unique features that all steel roofing brings to the product.
We use a particular steel that most others in the industry have not used. The steel, first off, it's a 26 gauge steel, a G90 galvanized steel. The advantage is we get virtually no fade. We have been able to go to projects and put on additions like you're looking at here. Right out of the box, initially there's that difference, but within months, it is harder to tell which has been on there for 10 years, which is new. And that's never going to happen with shingles. You can't put shingles on 6 months apart and not see the difference. Because of the contour of our particular product, it lends itself very nicely to ridge venting. Typically, homes don't have enough venting in the attic space. So with this, we can open up the ridge cap underneath our moldings and let that breathe. And that further reduces the temperatures in the attic and further reduces the air conditioning costs.
So longevity, quality of product, heat diffusion, when you put it all together, it looks like a metal roof is the way to go. Okay, well, thank you, Stan.
Tom,
appreciate your expertise.
Thank you.